the bait of the day. An original Bill Norman Red Man spinnerbait. Have you all seen the ones Jimmy Houston's coming out with on the Lucky Strike? He's got the Red Man spinnerbait. This is an original Red Man spinnerbait from Bill Norman with the old red head, the old short arm spinnerbait, the original Waking spinnerbait. This is a bad little dude right here, a little 1/4 ounce. But that's not what this is about today. I just thought I'd show that off to you because it's a really cool piece of history. Are you ready to run and gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. Man, that thing is a classic, I tell you. When to peg a slip sinker. Now this is basically a Texas rig type of thing. You know, whether you're fishing worms or Senkos or crawls or fangs or whatever you're throwing saw plastic wise, sometimes you need to peg a slip sinker. Now I pretty much throw a pegged sinker almost all the time, and you guys have seen this on the channel, especially on the water. I peg it with a rubber band. I've got a couple of different videos on how to do that. And you've also seen when I do hook a fish, that sinker has moved up the line and stopped. So it doesn't stay, pegged. Avoid toothpicks. They pinch your line. The rubber band system to me has been the absolute best. Some people use bobber stops. That's okay too. But to me, the bobber stop keeps that sinker pegged against the worm. I'd rather have that sinker have a little bit of play to get up the line. If you're fishing open water and there's not a lot of cover, a slip sinker is fine. You don't have to peg it. You can throw a slip sinker, you're fine. If you're throwing around stumps or rock or things like that, again, a slip sinker is fine. You don't have to peg it. But when you start getting into like grass or brush, where the worm can go through a lot of cover and go in and out, you want that sinker against that head. Because what's going to happen is, as you bring that worm over the limb, as it sits over that limb, that sinker's going to fall. And it's more chance of that hook getting wedged in that tree limb or grass or even lily pads than if it was pegged. So not only that, but if you're a bank fisherman or you wade rivers and you're making long casts, there's a lot of overhanging trees, things like that, absolutely peg your sinker. For the simple fact, if you do cast that up on an overhanging limb over the water and you're trying to get that worm over a limb, if you're standing 50 feet away from that thing and you're standing on the bank and that slip sinker drops in front of that worm, you're never going to get that worm back. Because that thing's going to wedge up in that tree and you'll never get it back. But if you had it pegged, then once you get that worm over the limb, it'll fall right down the water for you and continue fishing. So if you're walking the banks, absolutely all the time peg your sinker. As far as if you're fishing, say, around a dock that doesn't have any cover, a dock's fine too. But if you're going to skip a worm, say you're on your spinning rod, and you want to skip that thing under a dock or under overhanging trees, peg your sinker. And not only that, I would probably make sure the sinker's pegged to where it can't move that well. Because once you start skipping across that water, that worm's going to separate from that weight. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that thing's going to stay pegged in there pretty good. So when you're skipping, it will not separate. But I hope that's just a simple little deal, guys, of when to peg, when not to peg. I know I've had some guys ask me questions about that. It kind of took me a while to kind of figure that out 2 years ago, because I was kind of like, well, when do you peg, when do you not peg? You just kind of have to go with your fishing style, what you fish more often, and what is your situation more often. You're in a boat, you're in a canoe, or you're on the bank, are you wading, whatever you got, whatever. Especially if you're wading and you're walking and you have no way to get to a lure if you get it hung up in a tree, peg it. So that way you can get that thing back every single time. That's all I got today, guys. I hope this helps you out a little bit. So until next time, may the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name. And as always, fish on.